This video is about complex numbers. Definition of pure imaginary numbers. Any positive real numbers b, we have square root negative b squared. Then you will get square root of b squared times square root of negative 1. This is equals to I. That's the definition for I. This I is the imaginary unit, and a BI is called the pure imaginary numbers. For complex numbers, the pure imaginary number, remember, I equals square root negative 1. So we square both sides, you will get I squared equals negative 1. I is not a variable. It's a symbol for specific number that's imaginary numbers. Let's simplify. Remember, whenever you have square root, then you have negative sign. That means you will get the I. So square root of 81, that's 9. So you got the 9I. For number 2, whenever you have negative sign in the square root, you know that is I. Then 121. Square root of 121 is 11. X to the 5th power. This 5 divided by 2 is x2 get out. Then you have a square root of x left. Here is the final answer. For number 3, whenever you see the negative sign in the square root, that means I. 200, I can change that is 2 times 100. Square root of 100 will be 10. Then what's left inside the square root will be 2x. Yeah, that's the final answer. Let's simplify. For number 4, 8i times 3i, you will get the 24i squared. So I squared equals negative 1. Therefore, your answer will be negative 24. For number 5, whenever you see the negative sign in the square root, we get the I. So we got the square root of 5i. For this one, we have another I. 20, I can do 4 times 5. Therefore, you got the 2 square root of 5. This time, we do multiplication. You will get 2 times 5, because square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. So you got the 10 I squared. I squared equals negative 1. Therefore, answer is negative 10. Let's talk about cycle of I. I to the 0 power definitely equals 1. I to the 1st power is I. I squared equals negative 1. I to the 3rd power, I can write down I squared times I. Therefore, you will get the negative I. For I to the 4th power. Now look at the I to the 4th power. You could say it's I squared times I squared. That means negative 1 times negative 1 equals 1. I to the 5th power equals, I can write down I to the 4th power times I. I to the 4th power that is 1. Therefore, you will get I. And I to the 6th power, it will be equals I to the 5th power times I. That means get the I times I equals -1. Then you can predict for I to the 7th power, it will be get the -I. So basically, it's repeating. Every 4 repeating. So if you know the clue is you use the I to the nth power, you can make this n divided by 4. Then remainder I put is R. R is a remainder. Then they will give you, this is the answer. If remainder equals 0, that means equals 1. If the remainder equals 1, I will be the answer. If remainder equals 2, -1 will be answer. If remainder equals 3, then -I is the answer. For example, I17. You will use this 17 divided by 4. Then remainder, that equals 1. That means it will be equals to I to the 1st power. That means I. That's how you do that. For 22, so 22 divided by 4. We know the remainder is 2. Therefore, it will be equals I to the square. That means -1. Another example, I to the 26th power. So 26 divided by 4, remainder equals 2. That means I squared. That means -1. For 51, you will get 51 divided by 4. We got remainder equals 3. So we got the I to the 3rd power now. I 3rd power, that's I squared times I. That means -I. Definition of complex numbers. Any number in form of a plus bi, where a, b are real numbers and I is an imaginary unit. We call a plus bi is a complex numbers. If 2 complex numbers equal to each other, that means the real number part equal to each other and also imaginary part equal to each other too. Let's talk about addition or subtraction of complex numbers. Just like combining like terms. For example, I have 8 plus 2, that means 10. For imaginary part, we have -3i plus positive 5i. We will get the 2i. That's the answer. Simplify. This is the 1, 9 minus 6i. Then subtraction, minus 12 minus 2i. Then you combine like terms. 9 and a -12, that's -3. -6i plus -2i means -8i. For multiplying complex numbers, It's the same procedure as we multiply polynomials. After you multiply, you get the I squared equals -1. That's the difference from polynomial. Example, 8 plus 5i times 2 minus 3i. We do the for you like this. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times -3i is -24i. Then positive 5i times 2, you will get the positive 10i. Then positive 5i times -3i, that's negative 15i squared. I squared, that means -1. Therefore, for this one means positive 15. Then I combine like terms. You will get 16 plus 15 is 31. These two like terms, we got -14i. One more example, still for you. And we got -6 times 5, -30. -6 times -3i is 18i. Then positive 2i times 5, that will be 10i. Then positive 2i times -3i, that means -6i squared. Then I combine like terms. Before we do that, I squared get -1. Therefore, for -6i squared means positive 6. Then you combine like terms. -30 plus 6, -24. These two combine like terms, that's 28i. For dividing complex numbers, remember, no I in the denominator. So when you do the divide the complex numbers, you make sure you find a way to get rid of I from the denominator. For example, 3 plus 4i over 7i. Denominator, you have I. How to get rid of this I? We know the I squared equals -1. Therefore, I can multiply by I in the denominator. Then the top, I will do the same thing, multiply by I. Then you will get the 7i squared. Top, we do the distributive property. You got the 3i plus 4i squared. I squared, that means -1, so you got -4. Therefore, we have another I squared, that's -1. So we got denominator will be -7. Top, we got -4 plus 3i. Then negative sign cannot be denominator, that's I change the sign like this. So you got the 4 minus 3i over 7. That's the final answer. For this question, still I need to multiply by I, top and bottom. So we got -6i squared. For the numerator, I do distributive property. So we got the 8i minus 5i squared. Still, I squared, that's -1. I squared, here is a -1. So we got the 6 as a denominator. To the top, we got the 5 plus 8i. That's the final answer. Let's simplify this division. So how can we get rid of this I from denominator? We got to use a conjugate multiply. You know, for A plus BI, the conjugate will be A minus BI. So we got A squared minus B squared I squared. I squared is -1. Therefore, you got the A squared plus B squared. Normally, how to simplify this kind of complex numbers? We will multiply conjugate. For 5 minus 7i, that means 5 plus 7i. Then top and bottom, we do 5 plus 7i. Therefore, for the denominator, you will get the A squared, that means 25. 7 squared is 49. Then for the top, we got to do the FOIL this time. Then you will get the 15 plus 21i plus 20i. Then plus 28i squared. 28i squared, that will be minus 28. So we combine like terms. Denominator will be 74. For the top, that means negative 13. And plus 41i. That's the final answer for this question. One more example. We still need a conjugate multiply. That means 3 minus 6i. So we multiply by 3 minus 6i, top and bottom. Then denominator, you will get 3 squared, that means 9. 6 squared, that's plus 36. To the top, we got to do FOIL this time. Therefore, you got the 24 minus 48i. Then have negative 15i plus 30i squared. Then for 30i squared, that means negative 30. I will combine like terms now. Denominator is 45. 24 minus 30, that's negative 6. Negative 48 minus 15, that will be 63. So minus 63i. Then we have a common factor. That will be 3. You will get 15. Negative 2 minus 21i. This is the final answer.